Welcome into our overtime segment here on SportsSource.tv. Appreciate you being with us here online every week with Will Overstreet, former Vol defensive lineman, former Vol quarterback Sterling Hinton, and Chuck Cavaleris, longtime coverer of the Big Orange. I want to talk about the SEC East and where it looks moving forward, where you like the placement of Tennessee in the East at this point. You look at Florida, Will Muschamp is out. I think everyone expects Dan Mullen to be the guy because he was a former offensive coordinator there. There are rumors that he and Jeremy Foley, the athletic director, didn't see eye to eye when he was there the last time. When Florida fans posted some websites saying, hire Dan Mullen, Mullen was asked about it. He said, I don't like that. I don't think that shows class. I don't think, you got coaches down there who are working, their families. He said, and this was key, he said, I worked at Florida. I remember how they wanted me fired. Now maybe that's his way of saying, hey, Foley, get your checkbook out. Yeah. But it seems to me that's a pretty strong word. So you wonder about Florida. Georgia, they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback next year, but Mike Bobo and Mark Richt always win 8, 9, 10 games.
Always.
Kentucky should probably be a little bit better next year. Roster should improve. Missouri's going to have Matty Mock back again, and I think we got to stop putting any question marks around Gary Pinkel. Guy can coach. He doesn't need 4-star guys. He wins with 2- and 3-star guys the way that Petrino used to. South Carolina, you would expect them to be better. They're going to have a lot less green out there on the field on defense next year. Thompson's back. I wonder if Spurrier's back.
Yeah, that's a question mark.
Tennessee on paper, things look like they're going up. Vanderbilt, people are blowing off Derek Mason. He inherited nothing but freshmen and sophomores. He's going through what Butch Jones went through. I think he's a little better coach than he's getting credit, but I don't think they're going to be back to the James Franklin level of Vanderbilt anytime soon. So you take all that into account. How do you feel about Tennessee in 2015 moving forward?
I think you have to feel really good about Tennessee in 2015 because I think the biggest question mark was, do you have a quarterback who can play in this league? And I think you're finding out the answer is you have a really good quarterback that can play in this league that fits your system. I think you're seeing the progress with I think the other big thing is this coaching staff can select talent that gets on the field and can play early on. Yes. A lot of times people have really high-ranked classes, but they don't work out. They don't get to the school. They're not eligible, whatever it might be.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin, exactly.
Top 10 class, and I don't think 10 people made it through.
Right. So, I think you're seeing some positive things. So I think if that trend continues, I think you're showing guys that have the ability to choose talent well and then get them there and get them on the field and get them playing early. So I think this team, they still will have some holes, but if Majid comes back and Barnett, then you've got a pass rushing group. So you got a strong overall base to build on, and you're going to be filling some holes. So I think you're looking pretty good.
I like it. I'm optimistic anyway.
This is a shock.
Hey, I'm optimistic anyway, but it was sincerity based on what I've seen out of these people that are playing right now and the way the momentum of our team is happening. We can really compete for the SEC East and win it. I think we can win it. You look at the games that we lost this year. These guys that think are perennial in our conference and the East section of our conference. We didn't really lose or get blown out to anyone. We competed in every game, even now, before we have this thing that's happening right now where the players are believing they can win. They are going into the game believing they can win. And that is worth 3 points every time you step on the field.
Well, first of all, I think it's a sad day because Muschamp got fired because I wanted him to stay.
I agree. I agree completely.
100%. To me, that is a sad, and I think it's going to, in the long run, I think it's going to make it tougher for Tennessee.
If they get the right guy.
If they get the right guy, which you think Jeremy Foley would. To me, and I think we would agree on this, it shows why it's just right now so important to keep focusing on Tennessee, to keep recruiting, to keep getting better. And now you have built the work ethic. You have built some things. You have gone on the road. You've won a game. That you carry that over, and I agree with Pearl. I think you can contend in your division next season.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Florida thing for a second, since you went there, and I think you're right. Florida fans didn't like Muschamp. They weren't turning out for games. Florida's recruiting class, not good right now. I think if he was sitting on the hot seat going in, if he had saved his job and was sitting on the hot seat, recruiting would not sign a really good class, not the typical Florida class this year. I think it's a bad thing he lost yesterday for Tennessee because now Foley, you would think with Florida to sell and with the money they can throw around, you'd think he'd find the right guy. But 2 of the last 3, they haven't. Zook wasn't a good hire. Muschamp hasn't worked. You can make the case without Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer wasn't a great shakes down there. But I think if they go after a guy like Rich Rodriguez, who Michigan cut the wings off of way too quickly. They should have stuck around with him. You get a guy like Rodriguez down there with that talent. That worries you a little bit.
It does, but you also have something that's actually good for Tennessee, which is you have Florida State that's playing well and Miami that's playing well. So,
points.
Normally when Florida was doing really good, both those teams were on the low end of their ability and kind of in down years.
Fair enough.
I think that helps Tennessee because that pulls those players that would normally just look at Florida to go to those two schools as well.
That's a good point. What about Spurrier, guys? Oh, well, do you have anything else to say on Florida?
I say forget Florida. Cancel Crimson. I'm tired of worrying about what they do. Let's worry about what we do. We got the right color orange in the conference. Florida, man.
But
Go down to the swamp and tear their grass up.
That sounds good, but
Yeah, really.
that sounds good. But Eisenhower didn't say, "Oh, I don't wear it." Just land somewhere. you got to pay attention to what else is out there and what you're doing. South Carolina. I think Steve Spurrier returns, but he is a baby. So, would I be shocked that he walked away pouting? No, but I think it's a pretty safe bet he returns next year. I don't think he wants to go out a loser. But what do you guys think on Spurrier?
I have a sneaky feeling that I think he's going to leave this year. I just think that when we beat him in the swamp the last time, and that's when he left and went to the Redskins, it was kind of that same attitude of he was frustrated with the team, of being up and down team. They didn't really know what he was getting anymore. He had a lot of success, but I think he'd seen he probably wasn't going to get back to winning a lot of national championships. I think he's seen his top end at South Carolina. I don't think he thinks he's going to be able to, is this one recruiting class going to get him back to where he's winning 11 games again? I don't think he really thinks he can take this team now possibly to the next step of winning a national championship. So what is there left to play for besides just being there?
Yeah, and does he look at making significant staff changes that he thinks will get him back to where they want to be, which would be defensive coordinator?
Yeah, because after going 33-6 the last 3 years, he clearly needs to be fired. That's the problem. Everybody's reacting to one bad season.
Not a loser. He's not a loser.
Everybody's reacting to one bad season, and that's what we do. That's what everybody does, fans, media. But maybe we've talked all year about how Tennessee was dealing with a green roster. That's been the case. South Carolina lost the best quarterback in school history in Connor Shaw. They lost arguably one of the greatest players to ever play defense in the Southeastern Conference. And it's clear now that, yes, other teams were having to plan for Jadeveon Clowney. You take him off the field, it's a lot easier to draw up a game plan than having to assign two guys to him
and
every
with
play.
Somebody as cocky and arrogant as Steve Spurrier can be, I think a lot of it depends. Does he wake up one morning and just say, guys, my heart's not in it anymore. I've had enough. I'm checking out.
And that's the thing. He won yesterday in Florida, and they interviewed him, and he didn't take a shot. He kind of looked like he was a guy that we won, but I'm not having as much fun winning when I win anymore either.
Good point. And he's, like you say, he's one of those guys that kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. Chuck, Sterling, Will, thank you guys. You're always interesting things to watch. Hopefully you will watch us next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on WATE 6. The Sports Source. Thank you, and we'll see you next Sunday.